Alrighty. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Jen Moretti. I am the broker owner of Blue Arrow Lending. We'll just walk through some housekeeping things real quick. First and foremost, I would say we are recording this, so it'll be available to anybody after class today that you'll have access to, and we can email that out if you want to revisit anything. Also, I believe everybody is on listen-only mode at this point. If you have questions, feel free to put it into the chat and we will get with those towards the end of the webinar. If we happen to run out of time, then at that point, what we'll do is email everybody or email your responses back to you. And as always, feel free to reach out with any questions at all. So today we're going to be talking about a big topic that a lot of folks are talking about. It's in the media everywhere. We've been talking about here personally, recession on the horizon for about the last year. We've kind of seen this cycle coming and have been talking to a lot of our partners, our clients about it. And so really wanting to educate everybody so that you can talk to your partners and your clients about it as well. So let's jump in real quick. Okay, so let's talk about the last 2 years. The market was pretty crazy, multiple offers, very, very competitive, not enough inventory. I want you to close your eyes and just think about if you were standing outside on Black Friday. So envision yourself, it's 5:59 a.m. The doors to Best Buy are closed. They're waiting for 6 a.m. to hit so that everyone can rush in and grab one of the 4 TVs that are out there that are 50% off. And standing next to you are 1,000 other people that also want one of those 4 TVs. So the doors slide open and everybody rushes in. So that's what our market has been for the past 2 years. Super, super high competition. Like we were saying, not enough inventory and not enough inventory to meet the demand for all of the buyers out there. So now, when the market is shifting and changing rapidly, interest rates are rising, we're seeing more inventory come on the market. People are getting nervous, they're getting really worried because it's kind of like Target on a Tuesday. It doesn't mean that the sales are bad necessarily, it just means it's not that 50% off TV that everybody was jumping for. So that's one thing to discuss with your clients. There's more inventory these days than there was the past 2 years, which is not a bad thing. It can actually help them win in this market because there's less competition. Now, let's talk about what a recession is. So there's a lot of ups and downs. As we were talking about earlier, it is a little bit of a cycle. We've seen recessions before, and we want to look at history and see what history tells us about recession. So what is a recession? First, let's define it. So a recession is 2 consecutive quarters, 3 months of a decline in the country's gross domestic product or GDP. So we measure several different components for a recession. The top 3 are going to be a decline in real GDP, a rise in unemployment, and then also a decline in consumer spending. Because as a recession comes down the pipeline, consumers get nervous because of inflation. The cost of goods and services goes up. You know, when you go to the grocery store and that gallon of milk used to be $4 and now it's $5 is one simple way of explaining that the cost goes up for goods and services during inflation. And when people make the same amount of money, it takes more money or more from their savings, more from their spending to be able to live, pay for the groceries, pay for the gas, so on and so forth. So we're going to tackle each one of these items or one of these components and talk about what history shows us and then also where we're at today. So let's talk about what happens during a recession. One of the key indicators of a recession are that unemployment increases. So what we're looking at right now, they always say don't start your webinars off with a graph. Well, we're going to start it off with a graph today. So unemployment rate in recessions. This graph that you're looking at is what unemployment claims are made, initial unemployment claims every week. So we get this report week over week. And if you look, you can see on these shaded areas, those are historical recessions. So as you can see, let's just take in 1990, it looks like 1994, we had a recession and unemployment increased. We had it again just after 2007. And then we had it again during the housing crisis in 2008. And we had a small one during COVID. We had unemployment jump way up during COVID. And then right now, we're actually very close to the lowest that we've seen for unemployment, which is a good sign. Now, when we get to the very low of that unemployment, you'll start to see an uptick. And so every week, these reports come out and they show us, did employment go down or did it go up? And that's why a lot of folks are looking at those reports very closely, because that can be an early indicator of recession. So let's take a look at the next one. All right, so another thing to anticipate, historically, housing prices, the housing market stays strong through recession as well. Again, we've highlighted all of the areas of recession. You can see it 1970, 73, in the 80s, 90s. We also have during COVID as well. So you can see here that housing stays strong, with the only exception being the housing bubble or the housing crash in 2008. But that is because housing and bad mortgage loans actually caused the home depreciations during the time. But every other recession, and I believe we've got 9 on here, shows that housing stays strong and increases. Homes still appreciate through recession, which is also a good indicator. Something to consider is that the last 2 years we have had just astronomical appreciation in homes. 20, 30%, sometimes I heard Arizona is one of the top markets, 33% for home appreciation. And part of that is due to the bidding wars and lack of inventory. But we're going to see homes still appreciate, but not at such a rapid increase that we've seen the last 2 years, because truly that's unsustainable. If we had a 10, 20, 30% increase, if you think affordability is bad now, it'd be 1,000 times worse down the road. But 4% to 10% appreciation, we're anticipating we're going to see somewhere in that range in the coming years, which is a normal appreciation. We've done a study that shows the last 66 years, the average home appreciation is 4.3%, which is pretty good. And we need that stability instead of the rapid increase in those prices. So largest takeaway is that even through recession, housing appreciation and home prices stay steady and still increase. All right, here's a big one, and one that I watch every single day, is mortgage rates during a recession. And this is one thing that we've been talking to a lot of our partners about, especially recently. As we see interest rates fluctuate, they go up, they go down. Let's look at how they are impacted during a recession. So what typically happens during this cycle is that we have some sort of inflation that increases the cost of living, increases our goods and services. And in order to combat that, the Fed is going to turn around and raise interest rates, which they're currently doing right now. As they raise interest rates, they're trying to slow down the economy so that inflation can come back down as well, and that prices can equalize. Now, once they have dealt with inflation and we see that come back down, what's the Fed going to do? Well, they're going to stimulate the economy. So they're going to drop interest rates again and make lending more affordable. And you'll see a stimulation of the economy where people will start borrowing money again, long-term and short-term. So this impacts home equities and car loans as well, and savings rates. So as they want to stimulate the economy again, they're going to lower interest rates across the board for Fed funds rate. That way people can borrow money at a cheaper interest, and thus stimulate the economy so people will go buy more goods and services. So if you're looking at this graph, you can see that in the 80s, let's just go with the highest one up here and take a look at it. 18% was the peak interest rates. And once the Fed was raising interest rates, we went into recession. You see that interest rates came back down to 13%. And it happened again. If you look in 1991, there was a small recession there. It went from 11% to 8.75 for mortgage rates. Looking at that 18 and 13%, 5.5% on mortgage rates doesn't look so bad these days. So also you can see there is a trend on this as we go through each recession, which is shaded in the dark blue, that interest rates start higher and then come back down as the Fed is trying to stimulate the economy and promote more spending. We even saw one, obviously, with COVID and the pandemic in 2020 did the same thing. They dropped interest rates for the Fed funds rate to 0 and then stimulated the economy, and we're here now. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about because as we see the Fed tackle inflation, which we probably have another 2, maybe 3 times that they're going to raise interest rates, then we're going to watch to see how the economy reacts. And the forecast is that by next year, we will see the Fed will drop those rates back down again, and you're going to stimulate the economy. You're going to see more people borrowing, more people out there shopping for homes. All right, so we're making good time here, guys. Okay, so we've looked at history and what history tells us, the cycles that we're looking at with mortgage rates, housing prices, so on and so forth. The big question is, are we in a recession right now? So comparing what historically we're looking at and where we're at right now, let's compare the two. So again, we're going to look at those. All right. So here is the real GDP, and this is the most recent estimate that has come out. As you can see, this is from 2018 up to quarter 2 of 2022. And just to be fair, that the quarter 2 is their estimate. The Fed's trying to tell us what they think. They're going to advise us on what they think is going to happen and where that GDP number comes into play. So as you can see here, we have COVID right at quarter 2 of 2020, and spending went down a lot. And then you saw quarter 3, spending jumped right back up. And as we move forward in 2020 into 2021 and this year, 2022, you saw it kind of normalize. Now, quarter 1, we did see a decline. So we saw a negative GDP, which leads us to believe consumer spending is down. And then the estimate is that it's also going to be down, which it's actually going to be released today for the new GDP number. 2 consecutive quarters of down GDP. So this could be one indicator that we are stepping into a recession if it reports another negative quarter of GDP. I got to tell you guys, this is so weird. I can't see anybody and I'm just talking to a monitor. So hopefully y'all can hear me and everything's good. So we're still getting used to this webinar stuff. Okay, so next slide, initial jobless claims. So this is unemployment. This is what we talked about, right? Right now we're at the lowest for initial jobless claims. So to be fair, this is going to be the initial claim. This is not ongoing. So this is the first time somebody files for unemployment, it's going to hit this report. There's a completely separate one for ongoing unemployment reports. But this is the one that we're going to look at that tells us, hey, are people losing their jobs? Are employers laying people off? And what that means for spending down the road, what that means for this unemployment claims that are being filed. So right now you can see we are at very, very low marker. Truly, the only way to go is up. And so we're watching this report, comes out every week. We should come out tomorrow, every Friday, that will show us this past week if there's any new claims that have been made for unemployment. And once you see that tick up, that's another indicator of a recession. Now you can see here on this graph, there was a huge spike during COVID. because we were at an all-time low for unemployment. And then when COVID happened, obviously many businesses had to shut down and close their doors, and many unemployment claims were filed. All right. So that is unemployment. Let's take a look at consumer spending. Okay, so this report tells us how consumers are spending their money. We get a new report every week, and as you can see, there is COVID right in the middle, that there's a huge dip or a decline in consumer spending. That's, again, you know, businesses were, the economies were shut down, businesses were closed, so spending decreased very rapidly. And then it bounced back super quick. As you can see, it hit the bottom in May, and then it bounced back, looks like by July, where consumer spending didn't quite make it up to the levels before, but not far off. And as you can see, we've just had a rise, an increase in consumer spending since then. And now what I would say is that we saw a little bit of a dip in the holiday season, or just after the holiday season, which that's actually pretty normal. After December rolls around and people have spent quite a bit of money on holidays, Christmas parties, travel, all the things, you do typically see a cyclical decline. You can see it in January of 2021 there, and then also January of 2022. That's more seasonal. But what we're looking for is a decline, a consistent decline, or a rapid decline in consumer spending, because that's going to tell us that people are trying to hold on to their money, they're trying to save their money, they're potentially in fear of what's going to happen with the market or with their employment moving forward. And so they really try to hold on to that savings, and they spend a lot less during those times. And that is another report that the Fed will look at down the road as well. Is it time to stimulate the economy? They're going to take a look at where we're at on consumer spending. All right. Now, something that's going to truly help this cyclical recession is going to be all of the people stepping into the market. So the average age of a homeowner for their first home, first-time home buyers, is 33 years old. Now, if you take a look at this graph, you can see back to the 1920s, what age, when people hit that 33-year-old age, when they started purchasing a home, and you can see the size of that class or that group of people when they're stepping into the market. Now, if you look here under the Generation X, where it says 55 million, you can actually see there's a rapid step down, a staircase down, and it flattens out. That actually is 2008, when we had builders overbuilding homes. We didn't have enough demand, and we were not forward watching because we didn't have as many people in this cohort that were going to purchase a home. We had less demand because there were less people hitting that age group, 33 years old or higher, for home buying age. Now, if you look at where we're at right now, we're hitting, you know, many millennials are stepping into the market right now. And today you can see we actually start the staircase up. So we're going to have more demand in the coming years. If you look, we're here. We have at least 7 years of higher demand, more people stepping into the market than what we have today that are going to need homes, that are going to need inventory. So the demand is much higher than it was in 2008 here. So we're not going to see a negative appreciation. We're not going to see the foreclosures like we did and the vacant homes, because we have a much higher demand. And we actually don't have enough houses still. Builders cannot build enough houses to meet the demand. So if you haven't considered marketing to millennials, that is a huge group of people that are going to be buying homes in the next 7 years. All right, guys, let's take a look at the next slide. All right. So household growth and completion. So we basically took the last slide where we have all these new households being formed, people stepping into that homeowner or home buyer age group, and then we're going to compare it to annual completions. These are new builds, new homes that are going on the market to meet that demand. So you can see a past history where, let's go back to, let's say 2007, 2008, you can see here that, again, we were talking about those baby boomers, where we took a step down on the demand, the amount of people that were buying homes, that decreased, and there was so much more inventory beyond what we needed, beyond the demand. On the flip side, if you look over here, starting in 2014, things were pretty even, right? We had enough new builds, enough new housing completions for the demand. And then you can see here, we had more household growth than we had completions. It did flip-flop just a little bit here in 2016, but then the cycle continues in 17, 18, 19, and it just gets bigger and bigger. So you can see that we're forecasting here in the rest of this year, 2022 and 2023, that those households are going to go up. And if builders continue at the level they're at right now, we're still not going to have enough to fulfill the demand, which means we're going to see bidding wars again. We're going to see multiple offers. We're going to see competition. So household growth is going to be a huge indicator on what that inventory, household growth and inventory, are they going to equal out? Are they going to, is one going to be higher than the other? And so this is a simple supply and demand, right? If we have higher or we have more demand than we have supply, we're going to see those bidding wars. All right. Okay, so now we're stepping into the fun part. Knowing what we know historically about recession, what happens during recession, housing stays strong, that people are still spending, they're watching their pocketbook closely, but the Fed is going to drop interest rates and stimulate the economy, right? And with that and the cohort of millennials stepping into the homebuyer age, how can you service those clients? What's your plan? And there's a few things that we can go over. Number one is a business plan. If you don't have a business plan, or even if your brokerage supplies one for you, it's always a great idea to build your own, because for example, in our company, we have a business plan for Blue Arrow, and then each of our loan officers has their own business plan, because they want to differentiate themselves in their market. They have different goals that they want to set. Maybe one person wants to go after first-time home buyers, where another person wants to work with investors. So create your business plan, and that's where you sit down and you can build all of your marketing, you build your budget, you build the clientele that you want to work with, and that also helps you set your goals. This is a huge one. We're always setting goals in our company, because if you don't have a path, if you don't know where you're going and you don't have a map to get there, you're going to wander off into the dark, and you won't be able to meet your goals if you don't ever set them. Not only setting your goals, but putting them in a place where you can see them every day is so important, because if you hide them away, you'll forget them in a few days, just like you forget lunch that you had yesterday, right? It happens to everybody. And then also tracking your weekly activity, setting that business plan, setting those goals, but tracking the activity that you're doing to make sure that you're going to hit your goals, that you're doing the things that you say you're going to do. Because if you don't do the things you say you're going to do, you won't hit your goals, and the business plan doesn't make sense. And then we're going to talk about database management. So a CRM, a consumer relationship manager, is going to be super, super important, because it helps you find your people and stay in front of your people and keep track of what they're doing. And it also helps you follow up with them. So these are some things that we're going to hit on and help with for the rest of the webinar. All right. Okay, so business plan. Let's talk about that. A business plan can be several things. It includes several things. Number one, it's going to include your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities. And let's talk about your sphere, because I know as agents, everybody tells you to work your sphere, talk to your sphere. This is going to tell you what that looks like. Well, okay, I've got to go work my sphere. What does that look like? Is that a demographic? Is that geographic, a certain neighborhood or city, town, suburb? Also, a business plan is going to help you put together a mission plan that helps you determine what direction you want to go, what values your company is going to abide by or live by. And that's going to help you attract the right business, because when you put your mission plan together, the people who have the same values are going to be attracted to you. Budgeting, marketing, management, growing a team, all of that goes into business planning. We have a business planning class that you can take. That's down the road. We're just going to touch on a couple of things in this webinar. Okay, so one thing that we do is that we offer a business planner and an activity tracker. We can send this out as a PDF to everyone. You can print it off, and then we'll also mail it out. If you send us your address that we can physically put it into the snail mail, we can send this out to you because it looks really sharp, keeps you on track, helps you determine the 3 things that you need to focus on that make you the most amount of money, and then it keeps you accountable by tracking your activities throughout the week. And it's a month-long calendar. So if you have or need a business planner and you want to track your activities to make sure you are staying on track for your goals and your business, we can send one out to you. That's really great. All right. Okay, so part of what you're going to go through on a business plan, or when you're talking to your clients, or when you're setting up your goals, sorry, every client has a life cycle, and this is something that we teach our employees as well. If you look here, you have before the transaction, right? You guys are talking to clients, or you're talking to leads, and you're trying to get them in the door, learning about them, what they need, their life, they're married, or they need a yard for a dog, things like that. So before you get into the nuts and bolts of the transaction, you're talking to a lead and trying to convert them into a client. Then you have during the transaction, right? You're talking about getting them under contract, talking to listing agents or being a listing agent and trying to list the home and sift through the offers. So going through inspections and appraisals, and then ultimately going through closing. And then you have right after the transaction. So this is follow-up. Say they close, it's that afternoon, it's the next day, it's the next week, it's the next month. So right after that transaction, and then long-term follow-up. So one thing that I talk to our team a lot about is that clients will have 6 purchase transactions in their lifetime. How can you be the person that they call for all 6 of those transactions? And then they also send you their kids or their mom and dad or their neighbors down the road. How can you be front and center for those clients and turn them into long-term borrowers, long-term clients? It becomes that relationship building. That's where this customer life cycle comes into play, because you can have steps during the entire life cycle of these clients. So let's talk about what some of that means, what it looks like. Here is an example of a roadmap. Now this is, build your own. Everyone has their own preferences. This is just a good example of some things that we do. So your initial meeting, are you getting your leads from your sphere? Are you getting them from realtor.com leads or other online leads? Are you, when you meet with them, are you sitting down in person? Is it a phone conversation? I've heard some folks do Zoom. Whatever that might be, that initial meeting is just learning all about the client, just learning what makes them tick, what they're looking for, why they're moving. A lot of people say, I need to upgrade or downsize, or we need a yard for the dog. So the first 15 minutes that we always talk about is just getting to know the client. We don't talk about mortgages. We just want to learn about them, excuse me, about them and their needs and their life, because that's going to help us determine how we can best advise them moving forward. And then again, we're talking about during the process. So this is during the transaction. I'm a huge proponent of video. Obviously, as agents, you guys are there. You're like boots on the ground. So you're there for inspection. You're there when they're viewing the home initially. You're there at closing. But what about the times when they have questions? Because no borrower ever has questions about the process, right? If they have questions and you find yourself answering the same question over and over, you know, what do you mean I have to deposit money at a title company? What's an earnest money deposit? You can create a video using, there's a ton of different companies out there, create what we call an evergreen video that answers that. Because then you don't have to field the phone call. By a push of a button, you can send out the answer to them and your client feels connected to you because they see you on video. When your client, even if it's not in person, if they see you on video, they feel that connection, they see your mannerisms, they get to know you as a person. And that can also help you save time. It can help you save money because then you become more efficient and you don't have to chase down those phone calls and text messages explaining what an earnest money deposit is or whatever else you want to use it for. Then you have right after the transaction, again, we said that afternoon or the next day or the next week, the next month. This is the best time to ask for reviews. Every person, before they will choose your services, they look online and they want to look at your reviews. Guaranteed, especially with millennials being the biggest cohort to be in the home buying driver's seat. They're going to be the ones that are looking up you as an agent. They're going to be looking up a lender. They look us up all the time, and they want to see your reviews. Social proof reviews go much further than testimonials on a website because those can be handpicked. When somebody goes to Google, some people use realtor.com or Zillow for their reviews. They can go in and see the good and the bad, right? It's going to be both. So right after the transaction, reviews are so important because that's how other people will find you online. And when you have more reviews, for example, on Google, it hits the algorithm, so you are bumped up into the search results. You're higher in the search results. Gifts, obviously everybody loves a closing gift. However, one thing that I've learned is that when we go to closing, home buyers are so frazzled. You know, they've had to go get a check or wire funds, and it's probably the first time they've done something with that amount of money behind it. They're trying to make their way to closing. They're trying to sign hundreds of documents. They're not paying attention to the gift that you give them at closing. I hate to say it. A lot of people bring gifts at closing, and it's a fun time. We bring something small to closing, and then we create a custom gift after the fact, because once they move into the home, say 2 weeks later or a month later or 2 months later, if there's a post-occupancy, then they can get the gift and really appreciate it. So that's some food for thought, because I see a lot of people bring things to closing as kind of like that close out and you're off and we're done with you. Consider bringing a gift or mailing a gift to them after the fact. It hits them differently because they're not so frazzled and completely preoccupied with buying a home. A big one that we like to use is a service called HomeBot. This is a fantastic newsletter that goes out every month. It talks to, or it brings up the client's home equity, their mortgage loan, if they have enough equity to take out a home equity line of credit, or if they could take that money and upgrade, what that budget would look like. It tells them if they could use that equity to buy an investment property. It even gives them the option to ask for a CMA inside of HomeBot, where if they're thinking of putting their home on the market, you can be the first person to tackle that. And it sends out on a monthly basis with your picture there, so they're constantly seeing you are adding value to them. And the open rate is the highest I've ever seen on any monthly mailer newsletter. It has a 72% open rate. And if you sign up for HomeBot, on the back end, you can see all of their activity. And HomeBot will notify you if they're doing seller activities. So if they're tweaking their value, they want to see how much that house is worth, what they could get for it and upgrade, Any of those activities, it sends you a message and tells you, hey, this person may be in the market to buy a home soon. That type of information is invaluable because it helps you reach out to that client before they call another agent. HomeBot's a big, big one that we use in-house. Thank you cards. Everybody says that, you know, mailers are dead. I disagree with this. We send out handwritten thank you cards to all of our clients, and they absolutely love it. I get text messages and phone calls all the time. Typically about a month and 3 months out is when we'll send that thank you card, and you can ask for a referral in there as well. So it's another touch point. It's personalized because you're writing it, which if you don't have time to write it, we have great companies that can do that for you too. And then a 3-month checkup. This is really just a phone call to check in with your clients. Hey, you've had 3 months in your home, in your new home. How's everything going? Have you guys unpacked everything? Because everybody knows there's always that one box that's left over. And just checking in and staying in front of them. Also, another time to ask for a referral. And then a big one that we do is that anytime we have a client's birthday, we call them and we say, happy birthday. We don't want anything else from them. Happy birthday, I hope you have a great day. How is life? What are you doing today? Are you doing something fun? And again, it's just that thoughtful gesture that puts you beyond other agents. Well, my agent doesn't do that, right? That will elevate you to a higher level. And imagine this too. So for example, I called a client on their birthday. I had worked with them 2 years ago. I called them, left them a voicemail, happy birthday. They called me back that night. And they said, you know what? The only person that called me today on my birthday was my mom and you. So imagine that. You're definitely going to stick out in their mind if you're calling them and the only other person is mom that's calling them, right? Not social media, because we all know that alerts us for people's birthdays. We've wised up to that, right? This is a personable phone call. You want to take it a step further, send a birthday card too. And a CRM system will help you manage that as well. Now, let's talk about long-term follow-up, because this is where the money is made. Long-term follow-up. Did you know that 3%, not 30, 3% of agents follow up with their past clients? Wow. That means 97% of agents are not following up with their past clients. And then when they have another transaction coming down the pipeline, they're not going to think of them. But if you can build that database and you reach out to your clients, that's going to keep you front of mind. So long-term follow-up, again, birthdays fall into this category too, because you'll talk to your clients at least once a year with a birthday, your home anniversary. So when they bought their home, another great touch point. Oh my goodness, you've been in your home. Pro tip, if you have somebody that bought a new build, follow up with them at 11 months and tell them that they need to get an inspector out there because their home warranty is going to at 12 months. So it'll be done. They can't claim anything on the warranty typically after 12 months. So if you call your new build clients on month 11, get an inspector out there, you can catch anything before that warranty expires. And then holiday cards or holiday gifts. We send out holiday wine to our clients. Now that's a little pricey, but you can do something something simple like a holiday card to your clients. Monthly newsletters is a big one. You can do print or email, either one. I do like the thought of a print monthly newsletter. If you put it into an envelope and you throw a Tootsie Roll in there, people are more likely to open that envelope because it has something in there. And it's got that, oh, well, what is this? You know, it's not just a flat envelope. And then HomeBot can follow up with them years down the road. Social media, I know that all of my past clients, I friend them on social media. It helps you keep tabs on them. So when you do call them for their birthday, you can say, oh my goodness, I saw you got a new puppy, or I saw that you got a new job. How is life? How's everything going? It can give you a reason to pick up the phone, and then they're invested in your life as well. Social media is a huge place for free leads. another class on that one. And then just providing value as often as possible, right? So if you're talking about your new build clients, calling them 11 months, getting them set up with a home inspector, that's adding value. HomeBot, telling them where their home stands in the market. Does it make sense to buy an investment property? Providing value. And then two, this is where a CRM is amazing at helping you organize and follow up, because you can take notes and put them into your CRM. And again, it gives you reasons to call them. You can remember that they have 2 kids, or they did just get married or something like that. Put those notes into your CRM so that you can revisit that later. A CRM can be the backbone of your follow-up. And I will tell you this, get your own CRM, because if you decide to, heaven forbid, leave that brokerage and go to another one, many times they're going to keep that database. But if you own the CRM, you own those clients. So just some food for thought there. All right. Let's take a look. What else do we got here? Adding value, right? We talked about this a little bit on the previous slide. What are some things that you can show up to the plate with value? Talking to them and being real, creating that true relationship. Because as you add value time and time again, and you stay in front of them, we said it was 6 transactions a person does in their lifetime, you can get all 6. Which is really the goal. Don't just look at it as the transaction right in front of you. Look at it the one that's 7 years down the road, or 3 years down the road when they want to get an investment property. Having that insatiable desire to learn about the market, about interest rates, about a fantastic area for investing. Learn about that stuff and share it with your clients. These are some tools that we use, that we love, that pay for themselves in the transactions that it brings in. The business planner, we talked about that already. We have one here that we can send out to you. A CRM, customer relationship manager. If you need advice on any kind of CRM, I've tested at least a dozen. I'm happy to provide some insight if you need a good CRM. And then HomeBot. This is a personal testimonial to HomeBot. I've had it for 3 years, and I have done 14 transactions through HomeBot in that time. It is worth its weight in gold. List reports. List reports is a great marketing tool that can help you show up very professionally on a listing presentation. It can do neighborhood information, because we know that you cannot always provide demographics on a neighborhood per se, but you can hand them a piece of paper that does. List reports will tell them the schools, the walkability, the demographics in general, and then it will also put together a fantastic listing presentation for you to take on your listing appointments. Webinars, teaching your clients how to do investing. One of my favorite things that I teach my clients, and we're hosting another webinar next month, is teaching them how to invest. You don't have to have 20% down to invest, or how to buy and run, or how to manage a short-term rental or a long-term rental. Things to look out for, or inspections to make in the fall or in the spring. You can make very simple, even like 2-minute classes, which you can send via email or through HomeBot, that you're teaching your clients and you're educating your clients. That's something that other agents don't do. BombBomb is a platform, a video platform that you can send out videos, very slick, very clean. You can create a whole email template, and they have very high open rates for BombBomb as well. And we use that one all the time. And then marketing support. Consider getting help from a VA, a virtual assistant, or someone that has experience marketing, social media marketing, you know, what works, what doesn't. SEO, we talked about Google as far as getting reviews so that your rankings are higher. You can do a very simple SEO campaign, but get some marketing support. Again, if you need help with that, we've got some great ones. And then you are the best tool for your clients to educate them and show them how to build wealth through real estate. You can use all these other tools in the background, and then you are the rock star, just you. And that is where it really comes down, or that's where it really boils down to, is you are one person, how can you be in all places at all times so that everyone thinks of you as their preferred agent? These are the tools that can run around in the background to help you fulfill that. Okay, we're getting towards the end here, guys, so let's see. Okay, this is a big one that I talk about a lot, and I talk about it with our loan officers. Everyone says niche down. You need to have a niche, and you need to just focus on that one niche, that one area, that one demographic, your neighborhood, right? I disagree. I think it's great to have a focus. You focus on something. Say, I live in the city of Arvada, so I focus on Arvada. But I also do business in all of these other places. There is a saying on the lending side that says, a shy lender has skinny kids. That means if you're not marketing yourself, no one is, and people won't think of you. Not only that, but you need to diversify your income streams. Just like an investor, right? The average millionaire has 7 income streams. This is going to help you diversify your business. So if we do have a slow market, you can get business somewhere else. So your business is constantly flowing. So for example, we're going to do clockwise. We'll start with other agents. If you have a network of other agents in other states that can refer you business, fantastic. If you don't, I would recommend getting connected with one. Relocating from, California to Colorado, who's not heard of that one? Or Texas to Colorado, that's me. You can connect with other agents and create that. A lot of brokerages already have that connection, but if they don't, create your own. Your past clients. So again, we talked about retaining your clients using those tools. Your past clients can come back to you or also refer other people to you. Builders. Builders have been tough the last couple of years, but they're gonna need us moving forward. Talk to builders about being that preferred agent. Financial professionals, so that's gonna be financial planners, CPAs, people that work with businesses or with individuals about building their wealth or help them with their money. Financial professionals can recommend or refer you all the time. One of my top referring financial professionals is a New York Life agent, a life insurance agent. You just never know where that's going to come from. Obviously, social media is a great platform for free leads. You got to work that database hard. Attorneys, so estate planning attorneys and family attorneys. When someone's dealing with a death in the family or they're dealing with divorce, they're going to want somebody that they can trust. And they're already having those hard conversations with those attorneys. It's very easy for those attorneys to refer you as the agent of choice. So connect with some sort of an estate planning or a family attorney. Loan officers. Loan officers can be a great referral source as well. I know that we refer out to our agent partners, and it can be a fantastic partnership because they've already vetted it, right? Loan officers have already pre-approved them. HR contacts. This one is a little more long-term. If you wanted to do business with a company, so for example, if you wanted to do business with all of the Go Toyota dealerships, car brokers, they still got to buy a house. You can go in and become a benefit within that company. Small business, large business. I know that, for example, Quicken Loans works with Lockheed Martin. You could do something like that, and it offers them a discount as far as the mortgage. But if you can create that relationship with an HR contact, or if you know somebody in HR at a small business already, utilize that contact. It's in your sphere to have those employees come to you. 33% of employees say they want some sort of a fringe benefit outside of healthcare and 401k benefits that offer them discounts. So that's one avenue that a lot of folks can tackle and have an evergreen income source. And then networking groups. We all see the mastermind groups. There's master networking groups, and then there's also like a BNI group. We do BNI groups here. It's been very good for us, but other networking groups like Young Professionals Network are fantastic places that you can generate leads as well. And it's not a bad idea to have one focus. So if you wanted to work with short-term rentals or investors, that's your focus, but you can, in the background, you can help all these other folks. You can work with all these other folks. So diversify your income streams, because then if the market, the home buying market is down, you still have business coming in from all these other avenues. All right, we are getting short on time here. Okay, so being the expert, right? All of these tools that we've talked about, being the expert, being there for your clients, providing value. This is the people, your clients, they want you to be there for them. They don't want to call a 1-800 number or talk to Google on, you know, what's my home worth. You be that resource for them. If you're that resource throughout the years, they're going to come back to you when it's time to buy the next one. All right, guys, that's all we got. I appreciate everything. I know that we might have some questions, so let's answer those. We've just got a few minutes left here. So if anybody has questions, feel free to throw those into the chat box and we'll get those answered. And I apologize, y'all are gonna see my squinty face because I don't have my glasses on as I'm trying to find the questions. Oh. Okay, so I have one question here for HomeBot. It says, how much does HomeBot cost? So that's a great question. There's two ways you can go about doing that. HomeBot, I believe, on your own is $99 a month. If you partner with a lender, they pay the $99 and you pay $25. So I believe you can have up to 1,000 contacts for that 25 bucks. Beyond that, I believe they tack on a little bit more. So if you have a really big database, you may want to call them directly because I don't know what all the tiers are. All right. And that's it, guys. So I don't show any other questions. Thank you guys so much for attending. If you do have questions or want some follow-up, please feel free to email me. I am available 24/7. And thank you guys so much for joining us in the webinar.